Let's say China.
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 There are next door neighbors, and you can actually see Russia from land here in Alaska.
You go over to China.
I did not have sexual relations with that woman.
Trump statement, tweeting out insults to Angela Merkel. What's he doing?
Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome your host.
Yes. Hello, and welcome. I am James Andrews, and you are listening to So This Happened, the only news you need if today you've had no access to the internet, the television, or newspapers, and you're sat there looking at your phone saying, oh, there's a new So This Happened. I wonder what that fool's talking about. It's Friday. Yes, we have finally made it, and it is the 1st of September. And are you like me saying, how the hell is it September already? Summer's over. It's done. It's finished. All we have to look forward to now is winter. And on that cheery thought, actually, it might be a cheery thought if you really love the winter, if you like skiing or snowboarding or ice skating or any of that, then you're probably looking forward to winter. I've only been skiing once, and I hated every minute of it, to be honest. And it may just be because I didn't really know what I was doing, but my feet were sort of in these hugely heavy plastic boots, which I think were probably a size too small, but I'm quite a tall chap, so they didn't have my size, so I had to go down a size at the rental place. So that was uncomfortable. And then just standing there on the snow, it was really, really cold. I mean, my feet were freezing. And when I started to go on the skis, you know, I was going like 500 miles per hour, and then I fell over. And I think I was probably doing about 2 miles per hour, but it felt like 500 miles per hour. I hated it, so I won't be doing that again. The snow went down the back of my jacket. You know that horrible feeling when the snow gets down there and it sort of, then it melts because it hits your back, which is warm, and it melts, and then, not to be too personal, but it drips into your bum crack, and I hate that feeling. So skiing is not for me, but it may be for some people. And, well, anyway, I digress. And in an effort to be fair and balanced, which I think we can now take that catchphrase, since Fox News has dropped fair and balanced, I think it's out there for the taking. So This Happened is going to be fair and balanced today. And in order to do that, we're going to flip through a few news websites and just read the headline to see what's going on there. So, on the BBC, obviously, right? I go to the BBC first. Yes, I know it's a stereotype, get over it. Their headline, the big headline today, is Harvey Recovery, a multi-year project. And the story goes on to say that the Texas governor says that it is going to be an incredibly long path to recovery. Search efforts are still ongoing as the floodwaters are receding, and just now people are starting to get back into their homes and their businesses and seeing exactly what kind of damage has been done. And from all reports, the damage is extensive, and it's going to cost hundreds of billions of dollars to repair what that bastard Harvey did. And then if we flip over to NBC News, their headline for the day, it says Trump, announcement on Dreamers is imminent. And the announcement that is referring to is what Trump's decision is on DACA, which is the Deferred Action for Childhood Arrivals. Essentially what that does is it protects immigrants' children. So if somebody illegally immigrates to the US, has a child here, then that child, they were so-called the Dreamers, they were protected and were allowed to stay. Well, Donald Trump is trying to decide now whether or not that is still going to be in action, whether he's going to kick out the kiddies or he's going to let them stay. Now, you'll remember on his campaign tour, he said that, don't worry, we're going to take care of the kids. We're not going anywhere. I love DACA. So, again, it doesn't matter what he said. It doesn't matter what he said yesterday, never mind 6 months ago. He can change his mind and frequently does. But today he had a little press conference, said he's going to announce it today or tomorrow or Monday or sometime. He's going to announce it at some time in that sort of typical Trump thing where it's coming. Just stay tuned to the Trump channel and it'll be coming. Anyway, in a press conference at the White House, he said this.
A decision on DACA?
Sometime today or over the weekend, we'll have a decision.
Should Dreamers be worried?
We love the Dreamers. We love everybody. Thank you very much.
What do you think the Dreamers who are scared right now who feel like they're going to be killed?
I think the Dreamers are terrific.
Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, everybody.
Okay, so there was Donald today, and if you didn't catch what he was saying there, someone asked him, when's a decision coming? And he said sometime soon. And then they said, should the Dreamers be worried? And Donald Trump completely avoided answering that question and just said, we love the Dreamers, we love everybody. The next reporter said, should Dreamers be scared right now because some of them are? What would you say to that? And his response was, they're terrific, we love the Dreamers. So again, he didn't say one way or the other whether they're going to stay. And that really does have to cause a lot of fear with some of these kids out there. Some of them are adults now. They don't know whether or not this is going to have them kicked out. Now, reportedly, there are 787,000 people who are these so-called Dreamers. So that is almost 1 million people right now who are terrified because they don't know whether or not they're going to be kicked out of the country or not. I mean, the president loves you, so that's good, right? That makes them feel, oh, great, Donald Trump loves me. Fucking fantastic. Well, is he going to let me stay or not? That's what I want to know. And that's what we all want to know, and we'll find out very, very soon. And then, in keeping with our new fair and balanced motto, we're going to head over to ABC News. And their headline for today is more fires are expected at Texas chemical plant, federal investigation launched. Of course, that's referring to the chemical plant that yesterday exploded in Texas. The reason the investigation has been launched is that the plant knew that this was potentially something that could happen. They had written it down. In writing, it said, if the refrigeration failed, these chemicals could cause an explosion. So the investigation is going to sort of look into, well, why were there not more safeguards in place? Even though it was remote that this could happen, you knew it was a possibility, yet you did nothing to prevent this. And the company is claiming that the chemicals they're non-toxic. They'll irritate your eyes and your ears and your mouth and your lungs, but they're not toxic. Now, I'm not entirely sure of the dictionary definition of toxic, but something that affects your lungs, your eyes, your mouth, and your ears and your skin sounds pretty fucking toxic to me. And now on to Donald Trump's favorite news organization, CNN. Their headline for today is a plea for an army of FEMA agents. And this story relates to the Houston mayor who has urged the government to speed up their response to provide assistance to the people in need. And he said an army of FEMA agents are required to sort out the mess that we are having to deal with in Texas right now. And the final news source I wish to go to look at today is, of course, Fox News. Now, one would imagine that with how the news has been this week, that something up there would be about perhaps Hurricane Harvey, maybe even Donald Trump's Dreamers. Okay, not outside the realms of possibility. But no, Fox News's headline for today reads, Anarchist Fascists. And underneath the headline it says, Obama administration downplayed Antifa warnings and focused on the alt-right. This makes me wonder, is Fox News on the White House payroll? I'm actually being quite serious because with everything else that is happening in the country and the world today, the fact that they choose to focus on Antifa is incredible to me. And when you read the article, it is very clear that what Fox News are trying to do to their readers is convince them that what Donald Trump said about both sides are to blame is in fact entirely true. And the article, which is quite long, doesn't once mention the Ku Klux Klan or the neo-Nazis. It talks about Antifa a lot, it talks about left-wing extremists, it talks about domestic terrorists, referring to the left-wing extremists, but it doesn't mention the KKK or the Nazis. And to give you an idea of how far Fox News is stretching this story to sway it to Donald Trump's point of view, listen to this paragraph. The violent clashes in Charlottesville on August 12th that left one woman dead was only one recent event that drew dozens and in some cases hundreds of people on both sides, many of whom were armed and looking for a fight. So there it mentions one woman died in Charlottesville. It doesn't make any mention of the fact that it was the white supremacists that killed that girl. It just goes on and says, nope, both sides were there, completely armed. I watched a lot of video of that day. The only people I saw with assault rifles around their necks were the militia, the white supremacists. And I'm not going to sit here and argue with you that there are no violent people within the Antifa umbrella. There are. And those people are wrong. I'll go out there and say that right now. But the percentage of the people that are out there looking to make trouble, throughout the entire history of protest, there have always been a small group of people who are out there just to cause trouble, not because they necessarily care about the cause. You can go back to the 60s, the 70s, the 80s, the 90s, and the 2000s. That is always the way. When George W. Bush invaded Iraq, there were protests all over the country. At every single protest, there was a very small group of people that were looking to cause trouble. This is nothing new. This has always been going on. There are just some people who are complete dickheads, and they just live for having a good fight. They're always going to be there. You can't get rid of that. But the narrative that has come out in the right-wing media about Charlottesville is this. There are a group of people who cared about the history of their country and didn't want to see a statue of a Confederate soldier removed. They had permits to hold a peaceful rally. And then these animals came in with no permit, caused lots of trouble, were very violent, and unfortunately in the fray a lady was killed, and that's very sad. But both sides were equally to blame, but not the loving people, not the peace-loving people who just came to protest taking down a statue. Okay, so let's lay it out exactly. So we're going to be very black and white about this. I'm going to tell you exactly what permits were filed, by whom, and how it went down. A group called Unite the Right, which is a self-proclaimed white supremacist group, filed a petition with the city of Charlottesville to hold a rally in Emancipation Park to protest the removal of a Confederate statue. Now, Donald Trump's assertion that there were just people there that didn't want to see the statue removed is nonsense. If you are attending a rally called Unite the Right, which you know is a white supremacist group, then there is only one thing that you are, and there is no money for guessing what that is. So the argument that there were good people there who just didn't want to see the statue removed, ridiculous. And then here's a bit that no one tells you. Unite the Right did not receive a permit to hold the rally at Emancipation Park. That permit was denied. The city instead agreed to issue the applicant of Unite the Right a permit to hold the rally in McIntyre Park rather than Emancipation Park. Now, the leaders of Unite the Right decided to file a lawsuit so that they could indeed go to Emancipation Park instead. But no permit was ever granted. What happened was, on that Friday, a judge issued an injunction ordering the city to allow the event to take place in Emancipation Park. It was a very quick turnaround, and because the turnaround was so quick, no permit was ever issued to Unite the Right to hold their rally in Emancipation Park. And here's something else you probably don't know. The counter-protesters did, in fact, have a permit. The city of Charlottesville had granted a permit to the counter-protesters. So this whole narrative of the good people who didn't want the statue taken down, they had a permit. The anarchists, they didn't have a permit. It's actually completely the other way around. Unite the Right had no permit to be in Emancipation Park. The counter-protesters had a legal permit to be there. So make of that what you will. But that's it, laid out in black and white. There can be no argument. It was a group of white supremacists who wanted to hold a rally, were denied their permit, said fuck it, and held the rally anyway. The counter-protesters, this violent terrorist group, had a legally obtained permit to be there. And on that absolute bombshell, we're going to end today's show. Thanks for joining me. It was a great conversation, as always. And we have 3 days off. We won't be here on Monday. We won't be doing a show in observation of Labor Day, which is kind of ironic, isn't it? That on Labor Day, I'm just going to sit on my arse and drink a few beers. But anyway, I hope you do the same. So listen, have an absolutely spectacular weekend, and love and good vibes to everyone down in Texas who is still affected by this awful storm. And we'll do this again on Tuesday. Bye.
All the things I should have seen, the stars align, but I watch them pass.